The book Moneyball was about the Oakland A's during the 2001 season. And what happened the prior season, they had nearly made the World Series. They lost in the last game before making it. But almost immediately after the season ended, 3 of their best players went to free agency and were signed away. And as it turned out, the A's annual budget for player salaries was in the 40 million range. Sounds like a lot of money until you compare it to the Yankees that were over 130. So the A's looked at things, the A's management looked at things and said, we cannot compete on price like that. We cannot afford to sign these players that are hitting a lot of home runs and the typical things that you look for in a good player. We can't compete, we cannot play that game with the Yankees. We will never be able to do it. So what can we do to think outside of the box, to take different numbers, to maybe evaluate players based on different things than those standard traditional ways of looking at things? Can we look at different things and therefore put a price or a number on those things? And therefore buy runs, buy wins by spending our money wisely and not looking at the same old data that everybody's looking at. Whenever you're thinking in Moneyball terms, there are a couple of things you look for. Number one, you want to make decisions based on numbers. So you have to find out what those numbers are, and sometimes we don't really know. We have an idea, but we don't really know. So first step is run the right reports, know what the numbers are. You can't make any decisions without that. But the second thing, and then what do you do with those numbers? Because again, if you are looking at them in the same old way, what difference are you really making? So from a legal perspective, I like to talk about some things. Again, taking a different look at the numbers and looking at them in a different way. Every lawyer has a general idea of what the bottom line is when they look at an income statement, for example. They have a general idea, this is the amount of profit we have. What they don't really do is think about what goes into that. That's Moneyball. So thinking about how you end up at that is Moneyball. So I like to teach people what drives profitability, how you arrive at that number. And it really comes down to 5 things. How good am I at generating interest in my business, leads? How good am I at then taking that interest and turning that into actual clients? Conversion rate. I hear people all the time say, I just need more clients. But that's not just some sort of magic bullet that comes out of thin air. You need to generate more leads and you need to turn more of them into clients. That's how you get more clients. Once you have a client, you want to get them to come back. You want to get them to spend as much money as possible every time they come back. That is what turns into revenue. And then finally, you want to keep as much of the revenue as you can. That's something called margin. But those 5 things drive profitability. And those 5 things are things we never really think about, but they're the numbers that matter. So if you can find out what those numbers are and how you are doing, you can come up with strategies to improve them. We have a lot of other things, like productivity reports and collection realization reports and things like that some of us run, some of us don't. When I talk Moneyball to people, I like them to look a little deeper into that. So instead of just saying this timekeeper bills 90% of their time, I like them to figure out what's in the non-billable time. What are they doing with that? Because frankly, some of it's much more valuable than others. I like them to look at what is behind those numbers. So instead of just running a productivity report for a certain lawyer, run it for a client. Run it for the originating attorney. So find all clients from a certain originating attorney and run productivity against those. That's going to tell you something that you can take action on that you may not have ever thought about. Because that means that attorney might be marketing in some way that's just bringing in bad clients or not at least ideal clients, if you will. We do things routinely, whether you're a lawyer or any other sort of business owner, and we routinely give discounts because we think that's benefiting us in some way. Once you know those profit formula numbers, you can actually start to plug those in and you can see that there's a cost to discounting. And the cost is that you have to work harder, you have to get more clients to make up for the money you lost giving up that discount. Or you could raise rates and you could afford to lose a few clients. So you can work a little bit less and make the same amount of money. You can't make a decision like that until you see the numbers. And that's where Moneyball, now you've got numbers, now you can make choices. I like people to start categorizing their non-billable time because some of it is just so valuable, and that's the stuff that we tend to not do. We tend to think of it and we say, I have an hour that I don't have an appointment, I don't have anything like that, not all that busy, what am I going to do with that? And too many of us waste it. we clean our desk, we open some old mail, we look through an old magazine, just get it off our desk. We just waste it. When if we really did something productive with that would help the firm, it still doesn't have to be billable, but perhaps we could write an article, perhaps we could do some sort of client development. There are things that we could do with that non-billable time. Too many of us are not doing that because we think we need more time than we actually do. But we can do it in the time we have and not waste it on those really useless things. And the only way to know that is to track all of your time. And that is something that many firms just simply don't do. They're good at tracking the billable time, hopefully, but not all. But most of them are good at tracking the billable time, but they're not good at keeping track of what happened to that non-billable time. And if we did that and did a better job at that, we would start to use it more wisely. Just simply tracking things. This is another Moneyball concept. Simply tracking things makes you better at it. It makes you want to improve it. Seeing a number and thinking, that number is bad, I could make that better, will lead to improvement. But you have to have the data, you have to track the numbers and be willing to do that to make those choices.